When Adidas started putting Boost foam into their shoes, it basically started this trend of having a giant slab of high-tech running foam in a running shoe that people started to wear casually. But at this point, Boost is over 10 years old. And so we bought these Ultraboost 22s so we can cut them in half to see how it's built and see what you're spending your hard-earned money on, especially for $190. And we're also going to do some tests on Boost foam itself and compare it to its competitor's foam to see if Boost still reigns supreme or if Boost is a bust. This video is brought to you by Manscaped.com, the global brand for men's grooming and hygiene products. Manscaped offers the best tools and liquid formulations for the 3 big odor zones: your body, your booty, and your boys. Manscaped hooked me up with a bunch of stuff from their all-in-one performance package 4.0, so let's check it out, starting with the Lawnmower 4.0. This is Manscaped's 4th generation electric waterproof trimmer with advanced skin-safe technology, which reduces nicks and cuts on the most sensitive regions of the body. The Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer has a super smart cordless charging system, and these LEDs in front tell you how much battery you have left. And this thing lasts up to 90 minutes, and if you're taking longer than 90 minutes to trim your body up, trying too hard. And you can tap the button 3 times and it'll go into travel lock, which prevents you from an embarrassing vibration in your luggage going through the airport. And also included in the Performance Package 4.0 kit are 2 products that I didn't know I needed until doing this ad. One is the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant, the other is the Crop Reviver Ball Toner. And it also comes with the Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer, which has the same technology, the same thing going on as the Weed Whacker, but for your nose and toes and everything in between. So for a limited time, you can get all this plus 2 free gifts: this little travel bag and a pair of their anti-chafing boxers. All you gotta do is go to manscaped.com today and get your 20% off and free international shipping with the code ROSEANVIL. And don't forget to use the links in the description, and thanks again to Manscaped for sponsoring this video. So now let's go over the quick history of Boost foam, because it's more interesting than you might think, because I think a lot of people assume Boost is made by Adidas, when in fact it's made by a German company called BASF. And BASF is best known for their industrial products like chemicals and plastics and foams, but in 2009 they started working with Puma on a new foam for them, but by 2011 they had called it quits and terminated their contract with Puma. But also in that same year, BASF signed an exclusive contract with Adidas. And then 2 years later, in 2013, BASF unveils its Infinergy foam, which is basically just their name for Boost foam. And also that same year, Infinergy makes its debut in an Adidas sneaker in the Energy Boost. And then a year later, in 2014, Dennis Komodo runs the Berlin Marathon in 2 hours and 2 minutes wearing his Adios Boost that featured Boost technology, but it still wasn't enough to popularize Boost foam. But in 2015, first Ultraboost shoe was premiered, and it didn't get a lot of attention until Kanye West was seen wearing them on stage. And that's what really started this hype train and the popularity of Ultraboost, because basically after that, Kanye put Boost in almost all of his shoes, especially in 2015 with the 350s and 750s. And here's all the other Yeezys that have Boost foam in them. And all this popularity and hype around Boost foam, a lot of people think brought Adidas out of a bit of a slide, and to the degree that by 2017, Adidas had passed the Jordan brand in sales. And basically ever since then, Adidas has just been putting as much Boost foam in as many shoes as possible. And so let's start dissecting this thing, going through the details, and start testing this foam. So let's start with the upper first, because that's what we always do. So this is a single piece of Primeknit upper, just like the Yeezys, but it's made from Parley Ocean plastic, which is cool. And it seems like it's a lot softer and more flexible than the Zoom X knit. And I think that's because this is a weft knit rather than a warp knit. And so to explain that, it's just better to show it visually, because weft knit is structured a lot more like pantyhose and socks, and these your typical way of looking at a knit where if you pop a stitch, the whole thing comes unraveled. So we did that exact same test and cut a little slit in the side to see if you can get the upper to unravel. And as you can see, it does unravel fairly easily compared to the Zoom X that use a warp knit, which we couldn't get it to split at all. So there is a difference there, but I think the advantage of a weft knit is the flexibility and the stretch. And then just for fun, we wanted to burn it just to see how it would react. And as you can see, it is a very heavy synthetic material. That's because it's ocean plastic, but it just melted and burned. But these are running shoes, so I wouldn't be too concerned about it. But it is interesting to see how they react under flame. And then also, out of curiosity, we wanted to run an eyelet test to see how many pounds it takes to actually pull the laces out of the eyelets. Well, we rigged it up on our engine crane, and it took 123.4 pounds to rip through this little eyelet cage here. And compare that to the Zoom X took 101.8 pounds. So slightly more durable than the Zoom X, and I think that's just because it is a plastic cage rather than just those little reinforcements. And also, just like the Zoom X, it has this little heel counter like structure, and I think it's this for the same reason, to help structure that heel so it doesn't over collapse, to give you a little bit more rigidity. And specifically with this Ultraboost, there's no actual counter on the inside. It's really soft. So this plastic doubles as your heel counter to keep that tight around your heel and give you some structure in the heel. And now to the most interesting thing, and the thing that we're really testing in this video, the Boost foam. So if you don't know, Boost is made of a ton of tiny little beads, and you can even see the outer shell of the beads. This isn't a print embossed into the outside. That's the actual structure of the foam. And we know that because we've cut apart Boost foam in the Yeezy 350s, and on the inside, you can see those individual beads of foam and the little shell, that little hard shell that goes around the outside of them. And so it's basically a styrofoam, but for running shoes and comfort. The way that they fuse all these beads together is really interesting, because I just assumed they put a bunch of beads in some sort of form and they heated them up and they fuse together, but they actually use steam to fuse all these beads together, which is really cool. I think there is some inherent value to having a bead structure on the inside of a foam, because when we looked at the Zoom X, it was just a solid piece of foam with a lot of tiny little air bubbles in it. But with Boost, those little shells stay intact when you cut it in half. And I think those shells almost act like a honeycomb, giving it extra structure, giving it a little extra rebound, and allowing it not to overly compress over time. Similar to how the Zoom Air has those little fibers, that little lattice structure on the inside of the little air units that give it a little more structure. I think it's the exact same thing with the Boost foam. And I think that's part of why it's been such a high performing and comfortable foam. But we'll really see once we start running these tests. But first, just for fun, we want to burn the Ultraboost because it burns really interesting. When you put a flame to it, it almost caramelizes and melts. But as for the durometer of this foam, on the outside, it's 23 to 25 Shore A, which is really, really soft, especially from the outside. And to put that in comparison, here's the durometer of the inside of the Boost foam compared to all these other foams that we're gonna test in the following tests. So it is a very soft and squishy foam, and that's where you start to see the value of having just a little bit of structure from the shell around each individual Boost foam bead. So now let's actually put this to the test and run our bar drop test. And instead of just running these tests on this foam, we wanted to give it some context by comparing it to some of the other high performance foams in the Zoom X, the Hokas, the Ons, and for a control, we just did a pair of Converse, and then obviously the Ultraboost. So we did the bar drop test, and the Zoom X bounced back up 6 inches. The Hokas bounced back up 8 inches, which was pretty surprising. The On Cloud Monsters bounced back up 7.75 inches. Our control in the Converse did a measly 3.25 inches. And then the Adidas Ultraboost, we'd set it up, dropped it, and it bounced back up 7 inches. But the problem with this bar drop test is it completely demolishes the shoes. It's such a heavy 35-pound solid steel bar. So we decided to revamp that test and do it with a lot lighter weight and a little steel ball bearing. And we did this in the last video where we just dropped it on the inside of the shoe, but I didn't feel like it was as scientific as we could have done it. And so what we've done with this video is we've cut out 2 different samples from all these different shoes. One sample is a full cross section of the heel with all the layers intact, and one is just a 1/2 inch cross section of the foam by itself with no other layers involved. So we started with the Zoom X again, and just the foam itself, the little slab of foam, bounced up 23.5 inches. The full heel stack bounced up 30.3 inches. Next we moved to the Hokas, and the little foam slab bounced up 17.6 inches, and the full heel bounced up really close to a 17.4 inch height. Then we moved to the Ons, and the full heel stack averaged to 18.3 inches. And since those Ons are built really strange, we couldn't really get a 1/2 inch slab of just the foam, so no info there. Then to the control of the Converse, since Converse isn't 1/2 inch thick, we just took the pad at the ball of your foot, which is about 1/2 inch, ran the test, bounced up 7.8 inches, and the full heel with the insole intact that's fairly permanent was 11.8 inches on average. And then just for fun, we have these little packets of the Zoom Air from the Jordan 36 video that Colin gave us, and we wanted to run the exact same tests on this just to put it into context, because that Jordan 36 video is really interesting because it might be my favorite technology in shoes right now because of how good it feels and how responsive it is. So we dropped it on just the unit itself, which would be basically the same thing as dropping on the previous foam slabs, and it bounced up 26.8 inches, which is crazy. And obviously it's not a foam, but still I thought it was cool to get the information. And then finally to the Boost. So we did the slab first again, and it bounced up 20.2 inches. And the full heel stack, it bounced up 25.3 inches. So it still performed really well. It did better than the Ons, it did better than the Hokas, it did better than the Converse, but it still got beat out by the Nike Zoom X foam, which I thought was really surprising, because I thought, we just talked about all these like lattice structures and the shell and the way it's a honeycomb to give it extra rigidity, but that solid fat slab of foam in the Zoom X still beat the Boost foam. which I did not expect at all. And so it seems like we're starting to see the cracks in this Boost foam because it is over a decade old. Maybe this new technology started to outperform it, because that's kind of what it's starting to look like. But there is one advantage that this shoe has over that Zoom X that I think is worth mentioning, and that's the way the whole outsole is structured. Because this is just a rubber outsole that looks like 3 different compounds, but we did a durometer test on them, and it's the exact same durometer, so it's probably the exact same rubber, just with different coloring on it. But you'll notice there's a purple layer underneath here that's not soft. It's a hard, rigid plate, and they call it their LEP, which stands for linear energy push. And it allegedly provides a 15% increase in forefoot bending stiffness for a more responsive stride. So what that means to me is this rigid, almost shank-like plate throughout the forefoot acts as a springboard. So every time you step down during your walk or your run, it compresses and loads that spring up. And as you lift off and move towards your next step, it springs you forward. And that's where that 15% increase in rigidity becomes an advantage. So that's everything that we can tell from the outside. Let's get this thing cut in half, see how it's structured, and see if we can draw some more conclusions to see if Ultraboost really is an aging technology. All right, we got it cut in half, so let's see what's inside. So very similar to the Zoom X with just less foam. You know, you look at these two, you can see how much foam there is in this Zoom X compared to the Ultraboost. But what's similar is they're both super simple constructions. Like the Zoom X is the outsole, midsole, and upper that's strobel stitched, whereas the Ultraboost is the outsole, midsole, and upper with the addition of that LEP shank. And I think part of the reason why they put this LEP shank in here is to keep this foam as modern as possible, because it has such a big name. Because the extra responsiveness they get with this LEP shank is similar to what we've seen in more modern, newer running shoes with the Ons and some of these other shoes that have an exact same feature, just implemented in a different way. So does Boost still reign supreme in the super foam groups of running shoes that people wear casually because they're so comfortable? I think based off the data from these tests, it seems like there's better foams out there. You know, this Zoom X foam performed better in basically every way. And it has the data to back it up. Like in this video, it's made people 4% faster on average for their running times. And I think that's partly due to the fact that this is an older technology. And so to me, it does seem like Boost is not quite a bust, because people still love wearing this foam. It is ridiculously comfortable, but it is clearly taking a back seat to some of this new modern foam that all these other brands are coming out with, and the new technology that people are building into running shoes. And that's something I think is exciting, because that just shows you that there's still advancements being made in shoe technology. We're not just stagnant in our technology, and it's just rehashing the same thing over and over in a different way. So let me know what you guys think, and let me know what other high-tech foams are out there that have these grandiose claims that maybe don't have the information to back it up that we can test. And we just passed 600,000 subscribers, assuming, so I'm recording this before we passed it, but we're supposed to pass 600,000 by the time you see this video, and we couldn't do it without your support, so thank you guys so much. And don't forget, the Whites collab drops September 15th. It's by far my favorite boot right now. I wear it more than any other boot, even though it is summer. And the fact that we got approval to send it with a knife pouch kit that you can sew on by yourself, and have a few other extras planned that we haven't told you guys yet, I think you guys are gonna love it. And there's only 200 available, and they're probably gonna sell it fast, so be sure to sign up for the limited edition email list. And you thought these were expensive foam knit upper shoes. Wait till you see what we got next. They were more than twice the price of these. So thank you guys. See you.